In the mid-90s, they made a Mars Attacks movie. And after seeing the trailers, it looked funny, it looked fun, it looked goofy. So my mom, my sister, and I went to see it and didn't like it. And we didn't like it because it was not the movie that the trailers at the time were selling. The movie's a lot darker and more violent than the trailers let on. We were expecting a fun, silly, goofy 50s sci-fi alien romp. What you get is a very funny and very good, but very dark and violent, and people die. And it's kind of gross and creepy and gory and disturbing in a lot of ways, which I and my mom and my sister actually dig. We love that stuff, but we were so geared to see something tonally different that when we saw Mars Attacks, it was just like, well, this isn't fun. This is actually kind of depressing. I saw it again. I didn't see it in the theater again, but when I finally saw it again, I was like, knowing what kind of movie I was getting into, I really enjoyed it. And so did my mom and my sister, I believe. So, Mars Attacks, the comic book. That's the best intro I got. I'm going to read the Mars Attacks comic book now. Pretty good. I rather enjoyed this. Mars Attacks, at least the series of issues that I just read, do not seem to be primarily concerned with story or character or narrative arc or any of that stuff. It seems to be concerned and focusing almost solely on showing you really cool stuff. And honestly, I'm okay with that. At least in this case. For Mars Attacks. Mars Attacks, okay. We don't really have that many characters or big deep stories, and it's just Martians and robots and giant bugs and cool stuff. I'm like, you know what? Sometimes that's enough. And there's a lot of the art is actually really nice. It's based on the old Mars Attacks trading cards, if you've ever seen that, which of course the movie borrowed a lot of its look for. So if you like the design of those and the design of the film, you'll dig this series of issues from an art perspective. And don't get me wrong, there is actually a starting point and end point to the narrative. There are actually characters that have names. But they're not really the focus. They're not really the important part. They're not what you remember. The important stuff, the stuff you take away, is just all the neat stuff. The cool-looking aliens, and their flying saucers, and their neat little disintegration ray guns, and the way people turn into skeletons. And then you've got giant robots! And then you've got giant insects that the aliens are riding, and they're running around eating people. And then one of the heroes takes one of the gas canisters that makes the bugs big and dumps it over his flea circus, which he's had in the circus for a while. Which makes giant fleas, which he rides and attacks the aliens with those. And then it's revealed that the Martians have been around for a while and have been collecting humans and keeping them on ice and unthawing them every once in a while to probe their brains. So we have a Civil War era dude and an Aztec dude who steal a saucer from the mothership and go down to Earth to join in the fight. There's a a planet-destroying doomsday weapon. There's just it's just there's laser swords, there's giant plasma cannons. One of the aliens gets blown in half and then gets robotic implants, gets like a robot, so it becomes the Terminator, essentially. It just keeps doing neat, fun stuff. And it's not going to win an Eisner or anything, if that's the right award. But it's fun. It's something that you just happily keep turning the pages to look at, or swiping if you're reading on a Kindle or something, or clicking the next button if you're reading on a PC like I do. Yeah, it's no masterclass in character drama or storytelling, but it is just a visual treat. It's a lot of fun to read. I can't say I'd recommend drop what you're doing and go get it, but if you like Mars Attacks, any of the versions, the film or the trading cards or anything, and you have this Comixology service and you have the time, yeah, thumb through it. It's a fun read. I also read Mars Attacks The Holidays, which is a pretty great name for a holiday special. I looked on Comixology, and there are actually a bunch of Mars Attacks books. There's even a Mars Attacks versus Judge Dredd, which I'm kind of interested in reading, and I probably would have read that if it were available on the Unlimited service. But it is not, so I read the holiday special instead, which is 4 different artists tackling different holidays and writing real quick one-off short stories. So, the first story covers Halloween, and the art style is different from the first series of issues I read. It's very Sunday paper comic strip looking. And it's about a boy and his younger brother who go out trick-or-treating. And here's the interesting thing. The elder brother is dressed up as Santa Claus. And it occurred to me, I have never seen anybody dress up as Santa Claus for Halloween. I might have to try that one year. Anyway, so he and his brother go out trick-or-treating, and they come across 3 of the Martians, who figure Halloween's a pretty great time to go scouting the Earth, because we can just walk out in the open and everyone figures we're kids in costumes. And we get free candy. And shenanigans ensue. Although it ends on a particularly note, in that the last remaining Martian is not quite dead, so the little brother pulls the pillow out of his older brother's Santa costume and smothers the Martian to death. And you're like, whoa. I mean, good job for saving the neighborhood and, by extension, the Earth for now. But, damn. Boy's cold. just smothers him. He says, "From this day forward, October 31st will no longer be known as Halloween. It will be called Smothers Day." That's not exactly what's said, but the Smothers Day joke is in there, and I thought it was pretty funny. The second story is Veterans Day, which the War of the Worlds radio broadcast that scared the crap out of a bunch of people that didn't realize it wasn't real, was actually a plan by the Martians to make people think that anyone who sees them goes, "Oh my god, there's Martians!" They're like, "It was a radio program. Stop calling Wolf, you silly widget." Not a bad plan, actually. So a bunch of veterans see the Martians, and they try to tell the police, they try to tell the townspeople, they try to tell the president, they try to tell everyone, but everyone's all, oh yeah, it was the War of the Worlds. You got to stop drinking. Seriously, we're going to stage an intervention here. So they say, all right, we're going to kick ass, and they do, and that's that story. The next one is Thanksgiving, and it takes place during a Thanksgiving Day parade. And this one is the most jokey and most pun-y of any of them. Basically what happens is the Martians attack during a Thanksgiving Day parade, but little do they know that all of the parade floats, or the balloons that, you know, float above the parade, are actually government-made anti-Martian spaceships. So you see, like, the Bart Simpson balloon punching in a flying saucer, and an Optimus Prime balloon beating on another saucer. It's really weird, but it maybe tries too hard to be pun-filled fun and jokes, but it's pretty amusing. The last one is in a street in New York or New Jersey or somewhere. There are a bunch of humans holed out in a building, and across the street are a bunch of Martians holed out in a building, and they're both shooting at each other. And it's Christmas. You remember back in World War I, well, no, you probably don't remember back in World War I, because very few of us were alive back then. But perhaps you have heard that back in World War I, there was a Christmas day where the Germans and the British said, you know what? It's Christmas. Let's call a truce for an evening and just have a nice Christmas evening together. And we can play backgammon. True story. Or is it? It is. But is it? Yeah, maybe. Really? Can you trust the history books? So this Christmas story is based on that event, where the humans and the Martians put aside their differences for Christmas and just hang out with each other and play soccer in the street. And then they get back in their buildings and start shooting at each other again. Okay. It feels like they could have done more with that one. It's also kind of hard to believe that the Martians, do they know what Christmas is? Do they understand what you're trying to do? From all I've read and seen about Mars attacks, if you walk up to them with a gesture of peace, they're going to shoot you. But they don't in this case. So, lucky humans. You see, the British and the German armies, they had people on both sides who spoke the other language, so they could actually communicate. They also both knew what Christmas was. I'm not sure. I like the idea of the story. It just doesn't feel like it would actually play out that way. In fact, the way Mars Attacks humor normally works, I would have been totally happy if this guy goes out in the street with a gesture of goodwill, saying that, you know, this happened back in World War I, maybe because it's Christmas we can reach the humanity on the other side, and la-da-da-da-da, and goes out in the street and hands the soccer ball to the other Martian, and the Martian's like, the hell? And looks at the other Martian, the Martian's like, I don't know. And the Martian looks at him and goes, zap! And they kill all the humans. I would have been fine with that. That's a really dark and mean ending, but that's kind of how the Mars Attacks universe works. That's the kind of humor that that weaves its way through the Mars Attacks universe. So yeah, overall, I had a fun time with the Mars Attacks books that I read. So The holiday special, if you're a super fan, yeah, go ahead and read it. Otherwise, it's fairly, I'd say it's skippable. But you know, if you're a fan, it's a fine read. So, wow, I really should shave.